Hey y'all, what's up? So I wanted to do a part 2 to my last video of my endometriosis story 1 year later. So as y'all know, I have endometriosis. I was diagnosed July of 2023. It's now July of 2024. Depending on when I post this, it may come up, maybe posted in August. If not, then it will be posted probably next week sometime. But I kind of wanted to give a little bit more of explanation as far as like what's going on with my body, kind of the symptoms that I've been having when it comes to endometriosis, and kind of try to explain a little bit more about what endo is. Just because I don't know if I did a very well job at explaining it. Like I said, it's a very new diagnosis for me, and so I'm still trying to understand like how it affects my body, and like pretty much kind of like what's going on. So I'm gonna try to like do this video and then also clean up at the same time, because I have my room that I need to get all organized and whatnot. So I have just done some laundry, so I'm gonna try to do like a vlog style. Excuse the mess, but obviously I'm cleaning up. I have some laundry that I just finished, and here is my living room. It's a mess, but I'm gonna go ahead and just try to answer some questions that y'all might have, but y'all didn't ask no questions. I mean, I could have asked questions, but y'all didn't. Anyways, let's try to do this. I really don't want it to be too scattered, so I'm gonna try my best to explain things and try not to get too distracted with cleaning up and telling this story at the same time. Yeah. All right, so let's just start off with a little bit of a definition of what endometriosis is, or endo, what the typical symptoms are and what my symptoms are, so that you guys can understand what's going on, right? So typically, oh yeah, I'm supposed to be, doing this at the same time. Typically, endometriosis is when tissue that lines your uterus, like when you shed your menstrual cycle, it's like the tissue that's inside the uterine lining grows outside of the uterus, and can cause lesions, it can cause cysts and things like that. So typically that can look like heavy menstrual bleeding, outside of the norm. Obviously we all bleed unless you're on birth control, but heavy bleeding outside of the norm. It can cause pain, cramping, either within your pelvic region or within your back, or sometimes your legs or your limbs. And then also there's a potential risk for infertility as well. So as far as my symptoms are concerned, what happens typically for me is about 1 to 2 weeks prior to my menstrual cycle. So just about around like ovulation time is when my symptoms start to skyrocket and feel the most extreme. And my symptoms right now, as far as, or how they've been overall, I've always had typical like menstrual cycle. So it's always been normal in the sense that I've never had like super heavy bleeding. I feel like my bleeding hasn't been where I'm bleeding through 3 or 4 different tampons at a time, where it's super heavy and I need a pad as well. I think maybe that might have been the case when I was a little bit younger, when I first started my cycle, but it's definitely gotten lighter and it's normal as well. Normal, quote unquote. What else did I want to say? Okay, I also wanted to mention one of the common signs of endometriosis is also pain during sex as well. I personally never had that issue, TMI, but I personally have never had that issue. And the thing is, after my surgery, I have not, well, currently I'm like abstinent, so I haven't experienced sex after my surgery, so I don't know how it is. I don't know if something could have possibly changed, but prior to surgery, I never had like really painful sex. So there's that. But like I was mentioning about my symptoms, they come typically between like the ovulation period. So I kind of can feel when things are starting to like move around in my system. Like as women, we know when our cycle is about to start, our emotions change, our our mood changes. We get, depending on if you have cravings or whatnot, it's like, you know, when your body is about to have, it's about to be that time of the month. So me, I crave sugar a lot, extremely sensitive, very emotional, cry about like small things, just typical. Well, I don't want to say typical because I feel like that's not a good way to explain like hormones, but essentially we all have, well, most women have hormones, and most women experience those types of things during their menstrual cycle, or when it's almost time for the menstrual cycle, these changes within your hormones. So that's what I mean when I say like typical symptoms. Nothing that is too extreme or out of the ordinary is basically what I'm trying to say. So I don't want to make it seem like it's so extreme to where it's debilitating, or it makes me feel like, you know, I need to talk to somebody or a therapist or whatever the case may be. The pain is what makes endometriosis extremely difficult to deal with. And I just want to say that for myself, obviously my symptoms are different from anybody else who has this condition as well. I personally don't know a ton of people who have endometriosis. Like I said, I probably know like one person that has it personally, but outside of that, I don't know what the range of symptoms are for other people, only from what I've read online. And from that, I can feel grateful that even though I have this condition, it's not as bad, quote unquote, as someone else that I may have read about online, or other symptoms that they have had or experienced. So I just want to mention that. But like I said, the pain is the most stressful part. It is the most difficult part of having endometriosis. So let me put y'all down so we can just chit chat a little bit more. Okay, so excuse the closet, but y'all see I'm cleaning up like I said earlier. I shouldn't even say sorry. All right, so let's kind of like explain a little bit more about my symptoms and the pain of endometriosis, because it is the most stressful, debilitating, sometimes frustrating, annoying, irritating thing that you could experience. My particular symptoms, like I said, it comes about 1 to 2 weeks prior to my cycle, and I get really sharp pains either in my left or my right side. Before surgery, it was within my whole uterus. Obviously, I had that large endometrioma that was on my right side ovary that was really causing gut punching feeling within my uterus. So after my surgery, that completely went away. I hadn't had any pain on that side after the surgery, so I was really grateful for that. However, it felt as if like things shifted over to my left side, and I started to feel things more intently on my left side. But I don't know, and I still honestly and unfortunately, even though I have the surgery, I still feel that pain till this day. So this past week, ironically, the week that I posted that video, I started to have those symptoms, because I'm about 1 week, it's about 1 week that I'm gonna have my cycle. So this whole past week, I have been experiencing that. Really quick, pain within my my ovaries, and it's hard to describe. Sometimes it feels like it's a fiery pain, like your uterus is on fire. Sometimes it feels like it's dragging and it feels full, and it's like a stabbing pain. Sometimes it feels like someone's punching you. Sometimes it feels like somebody's squeezing in it and pulling it and twisting it, like the bop it, hit it, like literally. If I could describe the pain, if I could describe how it feels, I would describe it as that. Literally like a bop it, you're hitting it, you're punching it, you're pulling it, like all of that's happening. And sometimes it comes when, like, sometimes it could come randomly. Sometimes I don't even know when the pain is gonna come. That's the thing. I don't know when it's gonna come. It's not as predictable as somebody else's pain might be. But the only time when I feel like I know the pain is going to come, unfortunately, I can't control it, because it's either when I am urinating, right after I urinate, or right after I defecate, so after I poop. That's when the pain feels the most intense. And sometimes it can last for 5 minutes, sometimes it can last for 10 minutes, sometimes it can last longer. And sometimes when it does last a little bit longer, it may be really strong and intense initially, and then it will kind of like trickle off and trickle down. So when the pain does come, and when I know that I'm having these symptoms, some of the tips or some of the things I would advise if you are also experiencing this is to obviously drink a lot of water. Obviously you have to urinate more, but drinking water I feel like drinking water helps. And then my biggest thing is this is my heating pad, and I even take this to work sometimes. It's 100 and whatever degrees outside, but in the office it's cold. And when that pain comes, I have to have this. There are times when I can grin and bear it, and I can just it'll have to take a moment, but I will like get through the pain. But when I have this, it helps because it kind of like distracts from the pain in a sense. Also, I recently was prescribed some new medication for that as well. And then finally, this is what I wanted to talk about in the last video, but one of the methods that I use to help with pain is this device. It's called the Gym Stem, or it's like a transcutaneous electronic something. I'll put it on the screen, but it's also short for, I believe, TTNS, and it's like electrical currents that you use to help distract from like the nerve pain situation. I don't know how exactly to describe that. I'll try to put like a little thing on the screen so y'all can read on it. But essentially what happens and what I do is that you can use it 2 different ways. The first way, and I have it in the other room, I don't want to get up and get it, but the first way is to put it on, you can put it on either leg. There's 2 pads that you use, and then it has 1 wire. I actually will insert a clip because I remember recording myself doing this not that long ago, but I'll insert a clip right now so y'all can see it. Smoke over fire. So that's essentially what that does. It's supposed to help with nerve pain stimulation or something along those lines. Yeah. So hopefully that explains like how the pain is, what the pain looks like for me. It can also be back pain, lower back pain, experience nausea as well with this, irritability, frustration, lack of attention span just around that time, because when you're in pain, it's like that's the only thing that you could think about. You can't think about anything else. Just imagine being at work. Luckily with the work that I do, I sit at a desk pretty much all day, you know, either on the phone or just chit-chatting with coworkers, and I don't have to be patient forward and I don't have to be on my feet all day long. But just imagine if you do have this condition and you're in a line of work that is not catered towards this, and kind of something, because during the time when you experience that pain, it is unreal. It's not something that you can't fight through it all the time, and it gets exhausting and it gets difficult and it gets hard. So yeah, those are essentially the symptoms that I experience around this time every single month. And you know, obviously I take my pain meds. My biggest thing is to control it with my diet, and that is one hell of a difficult thing to do. And let me tell y'all, I mean, I've always been skinny as a stick as far as weight. I've never had an issue with I've never had an issue with being like big, I guess. And stick with me here, but when it comes to eating, my biggest issue is eating like junk food, like candy, cookies, ice cream, stuff like that. Is why I have a lot of feelings, and I need to control that. And I want to control this with diet, and I feel like for me it's difficult. It's not actually, you know what? It's not difficult. I think that the way you think of things makes the biggest difference. And if I would just think of this in a different way, then it wouldn't be difficult. And obviously this is to help with my body, and this is to help control the pain and help with the bloating. That's another thing I didn't even mention and talk about, because I bloat a lot with endometriosis. And I can tell you a whole nother story of like years back when I was dealing with this, when I didn't know that I had endo. But obviously I've had it like all my life, and I didn't touch on that either. But I personally feel like I've always had this, but I didn't know I had it until obviously a year ago. And I can touch on that in another video, but I kind of just want to end it there. But next, I do want to talk about the elephant in the room, which endo potentially causes infertility. So stay tuned for that video and my thoughts around the whole infertility situation, because I have some thoughts about it. I definitely have some thoughts about it, because who knows? Will I have kids? Will I not have kids? Is that going to be a possibility for me? Should I freeze my eggs? Who knows? Also, in the next video, I'll touch a little bit more about how I want to manage it with diet, exercise, and things like that. But now that's what I have for y'all. Hopefully y'all found this entertaining. Well, not entertaining, but maybe educational. An opportunity to get to learn a little bit more about endometriosis if you don't know what it is. And that's gonna be all for now. I'm gonna actually clean up like I was supposed to. And I'll catch y'all next time.